Hi friends, this is Sarah from Crafting and Relaxing. Welcome and thank you so much for joining me. Whether you're brand new or you've been with me since the very beginning, I really appreciate it when you take time out for crafting and relaxing. Today I'm making envelopes for pocket letters. I got the idea for the envelopes from Cat and Paws, who is Gretchen, and I'll link to her video below. And I might have a video where I made envelopes, but these are specific sizes for pocket letters. Pocket letters, if you're not familiar with them, that's a different topic, but that's okay. There's videos on my channel and lots on YouTube. I made these to fit into the pockets and allow space so that you can decorate the front, you can fill the pocket, and it still goes in and out, and it doesn't go too far down so you can still reach it nicely. And I put the flap on so I can close the flap with washi tape or just tuck it in there. I've been putting washi on them just because it's cute. It's another way to add some interest. If you don't make pocket letters, these are still cute envelopes and you can adapt the size, but you will probably go through some paper doing it, so use scratch paper. If you see my finished Valentine's Day pocket letters, you're gonna see little envelopes of different sizes in there because I'm not gonna throw away the papers that I cut to the wrong size. And I did cut some to the wrong size because I had this, it was left over from Christmas, and I don't know where my template was. And then finally I just ripped this apart to figure it out. I have labeled this really well for you. If I was making these for myself, I would make them in assembly line mode. I would cut all the papers, then I would probably do the scoring and folding, then I would do the gluing. I'm gonna show you start to finish. And if I was doing this for myself, I would not have made this very specifically labeled piece of paper. What I've done here is made it so that if you want to pop back anytime, you'll have these measurements. I've also labeled it so that if you use a directional paper, this is the top. So you would want your trees or your bicycles or whatever to be right side up when you look at it this way. I'm not using directional paper, so that's not an issue for us today. So my piece of paper, my dark lines tell you the size of the paper. It's 4 1/4 by 5. If you went a little smaller, you could make more because 4 1/4 starts to limit you if you're using 12 by 12, but so it's not the most efficient size. So if saving paper is an option, go a little bit smaller, or an issue. It's not for me. 4 1/4 by 5. Then the dotted lines are score lines because, here, let me show you. Let me just pop this back open and show you. Essentially, we're gonna make this, right? My score lines are not the same distance in from the side, and I've written the measurements from left to right on my scoreboard. So note that if you're going to measure in from the end, your measurement is going to be 1 1/4 in from the end. This side is 1 1/2. But I did mine 1 1/2 and 3 3/4. And that's because when I lay it down on the scoreboard, I want to do them both at the same time and be done with it. You'll also notice down here, I have these white dots on my scoreboard. When I'm making projects, you've heard me talk about that before, especially if I'm going to do an assembly line and I want to make a bunch of these, I mark on my scoreboard with washi tape, or in this case, I used 2 little round scrap stickers. They were like the inside of a border sticker, and they were sitting here and handy, so that when I get going, I don't mess up, because it happens, right? We all end up with other sizes. That being said, if I make envelopes that aren't quite the right size, if they still fit in the pocket, I'm using them. They'll still be cute. This is like making any other envelopes. You can use whatever thickness of paper you have. Just be more gentle when you're scoring if you use a thinner paper. And also, thinner paper is easier to learn and get started with sometimes. Sometimes a really thick cardstock can be a lot. For the envelopes that we're making today, the only place the inside is going to show is right here. So it does not matter if it's double-sided. I have chosen these papers because they're part of my Valentine's kit that I put together, and the colors are right. This is a perfectly great place to use single-sided cheap paper if you want, or you can use nice paper, whatever. I'm gonna leave this right here next to it just so you can see, and we will go through and make it on this piece of paper. So you notice 4 1/2 by 5. Same exact size. Oh, good. I can cut the paper. Step 1. Then I'm going to use my dots right here, but it's 1 1/2 inches in, and I'm just going to score gently. And 3 3/4 is my other one, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to score gently. This is a thin paper. It doesn't matter which way I score. You know, some people say score on the back, front. It doesn't matter. Then I'm going to rotate it, and at the top and the bottom, if we turn this sideways, we do 1/2 inch. See that? The 1/2 inch part, I don't worry too much about marking because I don't usually mess it up, but this might get tricky. Is it the same? Oh, look at that. It's the same exact mark. That's handy. So I can use my little white dot. Okay? Now, that is it. Can you see that? That is all the scoring that you do. Then, this is not scientific. Do not overthink this. You're going to remove these 4 sections. Okay? We don't need those. And the best way to do it, I think, is cut them at an angle like this, because then everything folds nice. If you don't, you'll have to retrim it with scissors to get this part to fold. So I'm going to go snip, and I'm just going to cut right to my fold lines, snip. Then right here, I'm going to cut this at a little bit of an angle too, because otherwise when I fold it over, it's going to stick out, and then I'm going to want to trim it. So I'm just going to fold, and again, I'm not going to overthink this. I don't use a ruler. I don't mark it with a pencil. I don't care. Just a tiny, tiny, tiny slight angle. That is the entire scientific method. Then we're going to repeat it, and my flaps aren't exactly the same angle on each end. No one will care. And in fact, one of them won't show at all. So if you have one end where you think, oh, I did a terrible job cutting those, get rid of that one. And again, down here, we're going to go at an angle a little bit on the inside. This is just like if you quilt or fold fat paper for anything, you're just making those nice clean corners. So in the end, you end up with something like this. Now, this one's pretty crooked. Yeah, that one's pretty crooked too. I don't care. We'll just pick one. We'll pick this one. Oh, actually, I'm going to do it this way so that I make it just like I drew the diagram for you to help you. So this will be my bottom, and I'm folding that. I'm going to fold this side. I'm going to fold this side, and that was it. Now see, if I hadn't trimmed down enough, it would stick up in the flap. Like that one, I'm going to trim that a little more. I didn't trim it low enough, and if you don't trim it down, when you go to fold this part, it won't fold. Because, you know, maybe, just saying, maybe all your flaps aren't perfect. There you go. Now, you can do this. Cat and Paws showed in her videos a couple different ways. You can do flaps in or flaps out. However, maybe a certain color of the paper you liked and you wanted it to show. Maybe you want both ends to match when you put it in the thing. So you want the flap on the outside. With this gingham, it's such a circus, it doesn't show that much anyway, right? It doesn't matter. On this one, I had the flap on the inside, and then this one, like this. So maybe on this one, we'll put it on the outside so both ends match. You'll also notice I've given us some room here, about 1/4 of an inch, so we don't have to worry too much about folding perfectly. I am going to straighten this a little because my gingham's crooked. There we go. We don't have to worry that if we don't fold it perfectly, we won't have enough space to put glue on. Does that make sense? I'm using wet glue, art glitter glue. You can use any glue that you have. I'm going to glue there. I'm going to put some glue there, and I'm going to glue that down. Done. And I'm going to put some glue across here. And right there, and then I have a bone folder right here, so I'm going to put it in there just to make sure I didn't glue the envelope shut. You could use a spatula, you could use a pencil. That's one thing I always like to tell you. If you don't have a scoreboard and a bone folder, that's fine. If you have a pencil and a ruler, you could use your pencil for this part. You could use your ruler for the cutting and the scoring and all of that. You'd still be fine. This is not a fancy tools required. Now we have this adorable little envelope. I would fill this envelope probably with little embellishments or die cuts. Oh, those are too small. That's a terrible example. Like if I had a bunch of these cute pink trees or a bunch of hearts, these are great examples of what I might put in here. I found that I like the envelopes in pocket letters because it holds the stuff together and it actually kind of allows me to strategically fill them a little better. There's one. We're going to make one more, and I'm going to put the flap on the inside just to show you the difference in the glue, right? Because you have to put your glue in a different place. And in fact, if you plan it one way and you put your glue in the other place, don't throw it out. Just make it different than you plan. The same rules as different sizes. This time I'm going to use, we're going to put these big polka dots on the outside, and I'm going to lay the template right here. We'll move over a little so you can see everything, and we're going to repeat, and I'm going to do it hopefully exactly the same as I did the first time in the sequence, but it does not matter what sequence you score in, okay? It doesn't matter at all. So I'm going to go 1.5. This time I'm pressing a little harder because this is thicker paper. 3 3/4. Then I'm going to rotate. I'm going to score at 1/2 inch. I'm going to score 1/2 inch in, which happens to be my same mark. There we go. Then I'm going to take my scissors, and again, doesn't matter what order you cut in, wherever your hand and your scissors land is fine. Cut, cut. And I'll show you how I decorate these. I almost didn't make this video, Ashley, because I wanted to get these envelopes made. I was listening to Garth. I had to turn Garth off for you guys. That's a big deal to me. If you don't know who Garth is, well, I don't know if you should be watching this channel. All right. Okay, I like the big polka dot size, so we're going to use that. And again, I'm going to lay it down the same as I did before just to show you, but it does not matter. The sequence doesn't matter. And this is thicker paper, so I'm being a little more careful with it. Let me see if I can show you. Okay, right there, I got a tiny bit of creasing, and the white shows. So if I'm really rough with it, it will probably get damaged a little, whereas thin paper doesn't care. If I score way too hard and mess one up, I run washi along that edge and decorate it, or wrap a sticker around it. I do not throw them away. If I have 2 minutes into a project, no. Okay, now, this one, I put the flap on the outside. This one, I'm going to put the flap on the inside just to show you. The difference is you put the flap down, you put the glue on the flap instead of on the inside of it. Then you want to close this one, and then you're going to bring this final long flap over the top of it. And go easy on the glue because this is a very tiny project, and if you get too much glue in there, it's going to seep out and glue your envelope shut. Then take your pencil or your bone folder, whatever you're using, and put it in there because you want to push those layers together, but make sure that you're not gluing it shut. This step is a little more work. If you glue the flap on the outside, there's a lot less risk of you gluing your envelope shut. And then take this little flap. Okay, so see, there's an example right there. My paper got a little messed up. I don't think the world will end, and I'm probably not even going to put any washi on that. Now I want to show you, I would have these envelopes, and they would be, the front of my pocket letter would be decorated, then these would be in here like this. Okay, so we'd be looking at them from the back. So I like to decorate them. And keep in mind, this is a pocket letter, it needs to stay flat. So I'm not going to put bling on these envelopes, but I could put flat die cuts. I could also put a bit of washi just to make it interesting. This is a really hard geometric pattern. Let's change it up a little. If I had cute little die cuts, sometimes I'll take a die cut and write thank you or hello or something. Here I have this cute tree that I just really want to use. It was in my little package from Midge's Mountain Crafts. I don't think trees are only for holidays. Look at that. So keep it thin. Remember, these are pocket letters, so you can't go super thick. You need to keep things fairly flat. This one, I'm going to just take this. This glitter paper is very thin. That helps in this situation too. For my Valentine's pocket letters, I'm going anything pink or red. It's like when I do blue. All blues go together. I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, so there are 2 examples of how I might decorate them. And sometimes I don't even decorate them. Sometimes I leave them totally plain and put them in there because there's so much going on in the pocket letter anyway that I'm not worried about it. If I wanted to close these up, I might use the matching washi tape if I could find it, right? When I go to load this envelope, who knows where this washi will be in my room. And I don't worry about if it's a clean cut. In fact, if it's not, then I don't want the other end to be. And then that's how I would close it up and put it in there. Also, if you don't want to put washi on them, you can just close them and tuck it in there and it'll stay shut. These are also fun because they're reusable for the recipient. They can pull them out, dump them out. Thanks so much for watching. I hope that this video was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to write them down below in the comments to me, or you could message me on Instagram. Bye-bye.